Wholesaling in 2026 is nothing like it was even 2 years ago. Cold calling changed. SMS, it's basically a legal minefield now. Agent outreach, underrated, but also overdone. And inbound ads are working better than ever. So today, I'm going to give you the real playbook, the one people charging tens of thousands of dollars for a mentorship won't tell you. If you want to wholesale in 2026 and beyond and actually make money without burning yourself out, watch this until the end and make sure you take notes, because the old way is dead and the new way is even easier. Let's start with what everyone still thinks works. Cold calling, text blasting, pulling giant lists and hammering them with cheap overseas labor. The problem is that laws have changed. But let's talk about what actually changed, because this is the part that nobody explains clearly. For years, wholesalers relied on two things: cold calling and text blasting. And honestly, it worked. It was cheap, it was fast, and you could hit tens of thousands of people for a few $100. But between 2023 and 2025, the government and phone carriers teamed up and said, we're done with this. The TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. This is the main lawsuit that governs telemarketing, automated dialing, texting, and consumer privacy. And every single year, it's gotten stricter. The latest and greatest shift is that any unsolicited call or text to a consumer using an auto dialer or mass SMS platform can be considered a violation unless you have documented prior express written consent. And that's that little checkbox that you check when you're opting in to receive communication from a company. But here's the scary part. A single violation could be between $500 to $1,500 per call per text. So if you send 50,000 texts and even 5 people decided to report you, that could be a big check that could really hurt your business. Also, the definition of an auto dialer expanded. It used to just be a system that randomly generates phone numbers, but now it's more like if your system can store numbers and dial them automatically, well, congratulations, that's an auto dialer. And that means the majority of CRM dialers that wholesalers use fall under TCPA rules now, unless you're actually dialing each number click by click like a single line dialer. Multi-line dialers, predictive dialers, fire and forget it blast dialers, all of it counts. StirShaken is a nationwide caller ID authentication system. It soft launched in 2021 and it tightened up in 2023 and 2024. In 2025, the carriers pushed it hard. In the simplest terms, StirShaken lets carriers verify whether the numbers you're calling from are real, registered, and not spoof or spam. What StirShaken actually does is if that number or numbers you're using to call fail authentication, your call gets labeled as spam likely, potential spam, telemarketer, scam, risk, which I'm sure you've all seen and gotten inbound calls from numbers labeled that. Or even worse, your calls don't ring through at all. They go straight to voicemail and you never even know it happened. The problem is wholesalers make a lot of calls. Tens of thousands. And the carriers like T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, they track call behavior and they share this data. So if your numbers are calling too many people, calling too fast, calling all across the country with low call answer rates or multiple back-to-back short calls, StirShaken automatically flags your caller ID as spam. So even if you buy fresh phone numbers every week, if you're multi-line dialing or dialing in mass with unverified numbers, they get flagged almost immediately and sometimes within 48 hours. When your phone number is spam labeled, these things happen. Answer rates drop by 40 to 80%. So you need more callers to hit the same KPIs. You need more phone numbers to rotate. And then you start burning through data faster with a lot of it basically still untouched. So your cost per conversation skyrockets. This is why cold calling has gotten so much more expensive. All this to say, cold calling still does work, but only if you understand the math. The volume required is about 50 to 100,000 dials a month. That's $2,500 a month on a dialer and phone numbers. That could be $3,000 to $6,000 a month for your cold caller labor, depending on the quality and where you're sourcing them. That could be between $300 and $800 a month for skip tracing. Another $1,000 for list stacking plus CRM and time management and tracking apps like Time Doctor could be $30 to $50 a month. All that to say, this could be between $5,000 to $8,500 a month. And that level of volume will get you at least a deal or two a week, but here's the truth. It's exhausting, it's management heavy, sourcing quality VAs to call, hiring, training, maintaining. You're basically running a call center. Without full-time management in place, you're the manager, and that squeezes your time for other areas in the business where you're much more needed. Now, let's talk about text blasting and 10DLC. This is the silent killer of SMS marketing. 10DLC stands for 10-digit long code. These are your normal local phone numbers, 702-816-305, whatever. Starting in 2023 and tightening hard in 2024 and 5, carriers like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile now require every business to register your brand, register your campaign use cases, verify your business identity, which means submitting your EIN, your driver's license or ID, submitting sample messages, and agreeing to consent rules. And if you don't register, your texts don't deliver anymore. Carriers automatically block them. Even if you do register, carriers still filter messages. And if they detect anything like cash offer, we buy houses, interested in selling, anything that smells like real estate solicitation, they throttle it, flag it, or block it before it even reaches the seller's phone. The average wholesaler has no idea this is happening, especially not someone just starting to watch how to start wholesaling videos from 2020. So they're paying for skip tracing, paying for text blasting platforms, sending thousands of texts, and only 20 to 40% of those even get delivered. It's not your campaign and it's not your message. And it's not that the list is bad. It's just that the carriers are filtering you out. Now that we know the risk, let's look at the effort and the cost. For the SMS platform, the softwares typically run between $99 to $350 a month. Plus your carrier fees, then you have your cost per delivered text. If you use something like waverei.com, you're going to pay 0.007 cents, but typically it's about half a cent per text. And because text blasting to get consistent deals weekly requires bulk sending, at least 15 to 20,000 texts every month, and that's on the low end, some blast 100,000 numbers every single month. Even at half a penny per text, that's at least $750 to $1,500 a month just for messaging costs. But remember, a huge chunk of those messages are never even delivered and you're still charged. Then you have data, again, between $300 to $900 a month. So when we put this all together, here's what a real SMS operation actually costs each month. In total, you're really looking at around $1,800 on the low end if you're doing everything yourself, up to over $3,500 a month just to keep an SMS machine running consistently. And again, I'm not saying SMS doesn't work. It does. People are still getting deals from it. But this is not the cheap, clean, easy strategy that YouTube videos from years ago make it seem like it is. It's a real monthly financial and time commitment now. And that's the reason why you're seeing so many wholesalers burn out. Outbound marketing still works, but the cost and the management required in 2026 is way higher than what the gurus taught back in 2020. And this is exactly why the inbound model is exploding right now, because inbound is the opposite. No carrier blocks, no TCPA nightmares, no giant lists, no VAs to manage, no 10DLC hoops to jump through. The motivated sellers come to you. Let me show you exactly why the new model is so much better. I want to preface this by saying inbound marketing in PPC is not PPL. PPL is pay per lead. Basically, you're paying somebody else to do everything that I'm about to say in this next section, and you're paying a premium for it. Whereas with PPC and running your own inbound system, you could get leads as cheap as $30 to $50 for a quality lead. You're paying for these same exact leads, maybe $150 to $250 per lead. And if you are getting them cheap, you're not the only person getting these leads. They're selling them to multiple investors. When I talk about inbound marketing and pay-per-click advertising, I mean you running and owning your marketing channel, not outsourcing to pay-per-lead companies that are making hundreds of dollars for leads that cost $30 to $50 a lead for them to generate. Owning your marketing is the best way to advance in this business. You're able to know exactly what your cost per lead actually is, with no inflation, with no rising fees, and without other people calling the same leads as you. Now, I'm not against PPL, which I know this probably sounds like I am. I think that if you don't have the time or you don't even feel like you can muster up the energy to learn inbound marketing, fine, pay for pay per lead, but make sure it's only your bridge to learning your own inbound marketing or hiring someone to do your inbound marketing for you, so you know what your actual cost is per lead and you're paying a flat fee for your marketing service. These pay-per-lead companies have changing prices all the time. And although people do deals, I've also heard some really horrible things. Last year, we spent over $25,000 in 1 month on pay-per-click advertising through a PPL company versus the $3,500 a month that we're able to spend for exclusive leads that we actually own and we actually know where they're coming from and how much each lead costs. Now, this is the stuff that nobody is really talking about. Inbound marketing is dominating wholesaling, and it costs so much less than people really think. For $60 a day, you could be getting 2 or 3 leads every single day. And one deal every 15 to 20 leads is a deal a week at an $1,800 a month budget. The quality is higher. You have actual motivated sellers that are reaching out to you. No skip tracing, no giant lists to pull, no risking lawsuits, because everybody is opting in to hear from you when they fill out your form. There's no 20-hour management cycle of multiple VAs with your cold calling, and the ads do the sifting for you. If you could spend $60 to $100 a day, you can get real motivated sellers reaching out to you, not angry people that you cold called. And because it's inbound, sellers expect a real business, not a random phone number. And that's why assignment spreads on inbound deals are almost always higher. Now, the next strategy is one that I honestly slept on for my first couple years, but agents actually bring the best deals out there. And that's because agents see properties before the public. They know distressed sellers who don't want to list. And when you have agents that are on your team bringing you properties, you're able to get to these before anyone else. And when an agent understands assignments and double closings, you get repeat opportunities with these same agents. Now, I'm not talking about going on Zillow and calling agents who have listings and trying to lowball them. When you go to agents about their listings, they're typically going to expect a cash offer. Sometimes it's difficult for them to understand creative finance, assignments, and a lot of them do have a bad idea about wholesaling. The connotation of the word wholesaling in general is looked down upon in a lot of agent and broker circles. So there is a way to do agent outreach the right way, and you can start with expired or old listings, but the goal is to build the relationship with the agent, make sure you have an investor-friendly agent, and do multiple deals with that one agent. Not shotgun method, actually building relationships with specific agents in specific markets, letting them know your investment strategy, showing them how you can make money together and how they can make more money working with you with your cash buyers. And that is how you get agents who will consistently bring you multiple deals, and you can make a lot of money with these agents. Now, the marketing system is going to be really similar to direct to seller marketing because you still need a pipeline, you still need a CRM, and you still need to be contacting multiple agents every day. And guess what? Agents are savvy. They're not like homeowners who only do maybe 2 or 3 transactions in their entire lifetime. They're doing deals every single month, or they're around other agents who are doing deals every single month. So their network, their resources are much more vast than a seller. So when you're working with an agent, have integrity, be honest. Well, when you're working with anyone, have integrity and be honest. But when you're working with an agent, don't try to pull the wool over their eyes. It's just going to put you in a bad spot, have you get reported, and just have all this dumb stuff happen that really isn't necessary. Let them know that you're an investor, that you know a lot of cash buyers, that you're looking for deals, and a lot of times you assign properties. If they have an old listing, maybe you could make a cash or creative offer on that. But what you're really looking for is the pocket listings, the one that is not listed, the one that they heard about, but they don't want to list because it needs too much work. These are the deals. And once you do one deal with an agent, they start bringing you all of the other pocket listings that they have, and this is where the money is with agent outreach. Plus, if they get to keep both sides of the commission, why wouldn't they want to do a deal with you? Now, let's talk about the right way to list your wholesale deals. And I'm not really talking about a novation, which is one way that you can do this, but the way to properly list a property. When you're a wholesaler, you're actually marketing your interest in the property. When you get a deal under contract, you do have equitable interest in that property. And if you have the right clauses in your agreements, you may be able to market that property depending on the state and depending on the regulations. The most important thing to remember here is that you have to be transparent with the seller. Do not get a deal under contract with the intention to list it on the MLS without telling the seller. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Number one, it's illegal. You're acting as an agent. You're also not giving any disclosure to the seller, and you're not being transparent, which at the end of the day, it's going to come back to bite you. How about when buyers want to walk the property? Sadly, a lot of wholesalers do these things. They're just going to ruin your reputation and ruin it for the rest of us that actually do business the right way. When you list a property, you're only marketing your equitable interest. You're not pretending to be the owner. You have to use a compliance-friendly assignment agreement that sometimes require a power of attorney. I always tell sellers, if I find someone to step into my agreement, you don't pay anything extra, the price doesn't change, and the closing doesn't change. I explain the JV structure or the flat fee listing partnership with the agents, and I explain the nationwide model that we use in my business. There are states where you must be licensed to wholesale legally. There are states where double closings are required, and states where marketing is regulated, like Ohio, Illinois, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Kansas. In some of these states, and of course, depending on the title company, if you try to do a straight assignment or an ovation, you're not going to be able to. This is when knowing where you're wholesaling, knowing what title company to use, and having a partner that can close on your double closes for you is really important. Some title companies will allow you to double close using your end buyer's funds, but some won't. And you'll actually have to bring money, close, and then they'll let your end buyer close. There are earnest money and transactional funding funders that will do this for you, maybe for 1 or 2%, or maybe for $700 or $1,000. We have a partnership with a company that does it for 0.75% on a double close or $700, whichever one is more. So if we are in a state where we're not allowed to wholesale or do an ovation, what we will do is partner with an agent if we have to list it, and we'll also actually close, and then resell the property. Wholesaling becomes so much easier when you can actually buy the property. And if you already have your end buyer already secured with earnest money, already ready to close on the same day, closing isn't stressful. If you're new, don't be scared. Just follow the rules. Wholesaling is still legal in like 95% of the United States. You just need to stay updated. So what would I do if I was starting all the way over in 2026? I would pick 1 or 2 markets for my outbound marketing. I would just pick 1 or 2 and get extremely niche down on who I was going to be contacting. I would pull probates, pre-foreclosures, tax delinquents, divorce, senior owners with 2-story houses, absentee owners, absentee vacants. I would try to stack these lists with as many major motivations as possible. So when I am doing outbound marketing, I don't have to have a huge team. My cold callers and all of the texts that are going out are to targeted, highly motivated, preferably stacked people. And my main marketing strategy, I would do inbound marketing. I would spend $60 a day per platform and pick 1 to 3 platforms, TikTok, Facebook, or Google/YouTube, since they're run out of the same ads account. I preferably love TikTok. For $60 a day, you can get 2 or 3 leads every single day. If you're a decent closer and you need 15 to 20 leads to get a deal, that's about a deal, maybe even 2 deals per week. 1 or 2 contracts a week, just spending $60 a day, which is $1,800 a month. You can see how targeted inbound marketing will give you so much more money, control of your time, not having to manage as many people. Now, here's the thing. The strategy with the inbound marketing, I would do about 200 to 250 cities nationwide in the areas that I like, which are the Sun Belt, the Midwest, and some parts of the East Coast. And then I would exclude the areas that I don't like. So areas that have too little of population, areas that aren't really investor friendly, areas that properties are moving very slowly in, and I would just exclude those. We're getting leads from between $20 to $30 per lead on TikTok right now, which is allowing us to get 2 and sometimes even 3 leads a day with $60. If you spend $100, you may get 3 to 5 leads a day. This is a strategy that's not only safe legally, But because the calls are coming in, the sellers already trust that this is a legitimate business and they're already people who are in need. For Google specifically, I would raise the budget a little bit more, maybe $100 to $150 a day, because Google and YouTube campaigns tend to be a little bit more expensive. For my outbound marketing, I would get my lists on reprolist.com, and I would use my AI CRM, Wave REI, to do all of our texting, all of our follow-ups, and for every single inbound lead that comes in, they get an automatic text message from our automated system. All of this helps to ensure no leads fall through the cracks and no deal gets left behind. I would make sure I was making at least 2 offers a day, and that would get me that 1 or 2 contracts every single week. Of course, some contracts are going to fall out, but this would build at least a 3 to 5 deal a month wholesale business. This is the path to $20,000 to $30,000 a month in wholesaling real estate every single month. And it's the simplest, clearest path. That doesn't make it easy. You need to be disciplined. But the best part is, anyone with discipline can do this. It's not rocket science. If you like this video and you want a deeper dive on wholesaling real estate in 2026, or maybe even the back end of these ad campaigns and how we set them up, make sure to subscribe because I'll be making more videos just like this very soon. See you in the next one.